Picture this. It's 1895, and some gym teacher is staring at a basketball thinking, this is way too sweaty for old dudes. Little did William Morgan know he was about to invent a sport that would be played by 800 million people weekly and make beach bums look athletic. But how did we go from throwing a basketball bladder over a tennis net to Brazilian women in bikinis spiking balls at 80 miles per hour on sand? Well, buckle up, because this is the entire history of volleyball. The birth of Mintonette, 1895 to 1900. It all started in Holyoke, Massachusetts, where William Morgan worked at the YMCA, teaching businessmen how to not die from being out of shape. Basketball had just been invented 4 years earlier, literally down the road by his buddy James Naismith. But Morgan's old guys were like, yeah, we're not doing all that running. So Morgan did what any reasonable person would do. He stole the best parts of every sport. Tennis gave him the net. Baseball gave him innings. Handball gave him the whole hitting with hands thing. And badminton? Well, badminton gave him the original name, Mintonette, which sounds like a breath mint, but whatever. The first game was played in December 1895, and it was chaos. Unlimited players could be on the court. They could hit the ball as many times as they wanted. And the net was only 6 feet 6 inches high, which meant your grandma could probably spike. Fast forward to 1896, and Morgan's showing off his new game at Springfield College when some professor named Alfred Halstead watches and goes, hey, you're volleying that ball. Why don't you call it volleyball? And Morgan's like, yeah, that's way better than Mintonette. Boom. Volleyball was born, and it immediately started spreading through YMCAs, faster than gym memberships in January. But here's the thing, the ball sucked. At first, they tried using a basketball, but that was like getting punched in the face. Then they used a basketball bladder, which was basically a balloon. And they created the first official volleyball in 1900. Leather, 25 to 27 inches around, and it only took them 5 years to figure out you needed a proper ball for ball sports. Global expansion, 1900 to 1920. The sport starts spreading like wildfire through the YMCA network. By 1913, it's in Asia. By 1915, some dudes in Hawaii are playing it on the beach. And by 1916, the Philippines creates the most important rule in volleyball history, the set and spike. They also said, hey, maybe we should limit it to 3 hits per side, which basically created modern volleyball offense. Pass, set, spike, the Holy Trinity was born. Beach volleyball is born, 1920 to 1930. Meanwhile, in 1920, 2 things happen that change everything. First, the 3 hits per side and back row attack rules become official. And second, some guys in Santa Monica, California, build jetties that create this huge sandy area and start putting up volleyball nets. Families are playing 6-on-6 on the beach. Volleyball has discovered its natural habitat, and it's about to get a tan. But beach volleyball's biggest moment comes in 1930 when Paul Pablo Johnson is waiting for players to show up for a 6-on-6 game, and only 4 people are there. So he's like, screw it, let's play 2-on-2, and accidentally invents the format that will make volleyball a global phenomenon. Spoiler alert, this is why beach volleyball players make millions today, while indoor players still take the bus. The Federation era, 1947 to 1964. Back in the indoor world, things are getting serious. By 1947, 14 countries meet in Paris and create the FIVB, the International Volleyball Federation, with France's Paul Libero as the first president, who stayed in charge until 1984, which is longer than most marriages. The first men's world championship happens in 1949 in Prague. And guess who dominates? The Soviet Union. Because apparently they're good at everything that involves teamwork and suffering. The 1950s and 60s see volleyball explode globally. The women get their world championship in 1952 because equality, but like delayed equality. Beach volleyball in California becomes associated with surf culture and people who shower once a week. Everyone's playing volleyball at nudist colonies, which nobody talks about, but was apparently huge, and the sport is basically taking over the world one YMCA at a time. Olympic debut, 1964. Then comes 1964, the year volleyball becomes legit. It debuts at the Tokyo Olympics, and Japan's women's team, the Oriental Witches, yes, that was their actual name, absolutely destroys everyone. They win gold without losing a set, and 80% of Japan watches the final on TV, making it the most watched sporting event in Japanese history. The coach, Daimatsu Hirofumi, was called the Demon because his training was so brutal. But hey, it worked. The Soviet Union dominates men's volleyball, winning gold. But more importantly, volleyball is now an Olympic sport, which means money, sponsorships, and people actually caring about it. Countries start investing in programs, and suddenly volleyball isn't just something you do at family reunions anymore. Professional beach volleyball, 1970s. Fast forward to the 1970s, and beach volleyball is getting serious. The first professional tournament happens in 1976 at Will Rogers State Beach with a massive prize pool of, wait for it, $5,000. Greg Lee and Jim Menges split $2,500, which in today's money is still not that much, but hey, it's a start. Soon sponsors like Winston Cigarettes and Olympia Beer are throwing money at the sport because nothing says athletics like cigarettes and beer. But the real money comes when Jose Cuervo starts sponsoring in 1978 because tequila companies apparently make great financial decisions. The California Pro Beach Tour is born, and beach volleyball starts its journey from hippie pastime to legitimate professional sport with actual prize money and everything. The Karch Kiraly era, 1980s to 1990s. The 1980s belong to one country on the men's side, the United States, and they have a secret weapon, Karch Kiraly. This dude is basically the Michael Jordan of volleyball, except he can play both indoor and beach at an elite level, which is like being amazing at both chess and boxing. UCLA superstar becomes Olympic champion in 1984 at the Los Angeles Olympics, then does it again in 1988 in Seoul. The Americans implement the two-man serve-receive system, and suddenly everyone's copying them because it works. Meanwhile, the Association of Volleyball Professionals, AVP, is founded in 1984 after a players' strike. Karch isn't the only star, though. St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos are tearing up the beach scene, making beach volleyball look cool, which honestly seemed impossible, but they did it. Then 1996 happens, and beach volleyball does the impossible. It becomes an Olympic sport at the Atlanta Games. And guess who wins gold? Karch freaking Kiraly. At 36 years old, becoming the only player to win Olympic gold in both indoor and beach volleyball. This man has 3 Olympic gold medals and probably sand in places sand shouldn't be. What a legend. The Modern Revolution, 1998 to 1999. But here's where volleyball gets smart. In 1998, they introduced the libero position, a defensive specialist who wears a different colored jersey and can substitute freely but can't attack or block. It's basically volleyball's designated hitter, except useful. And in 1999, they make the biggest change in volleyball history, rally scoring. See, before 1999, volleyball used side-out scoring where you could only score when serving, which meant games could last literally forever, like your uncle's fishing stories. But with rally scoring, every play is a point. Games become predictable, TV-friendly, and suddenly volleyball is watchable. Sets go from 15 to 25 points, the 5th set stays at 15, and volleyball enters the modern era. The money era, 2000s. The 2000s see the sport explode globally. Brazil becomes a volleyball superpower, winning everything in sight. On the beach, Misty May Trenor and Carrie Walsh Jennings start their run of 3 consecutive Olympic gold medals from 2004 to 2012. Indoor volleyball gets wild too. Brazil's men win everything. Russia and Italy are throwing money at players like it's going out of style, and suddenly professional volleyball players are making real money. We're talking millions for the top players. Wilfredo Leon goes from Cuba to Poland and makes $1.4 million a year. Zhu Ting from China becomes the highest-paid female athlete in team sports, making $1.6 million annually. Volleyball players are finally getting paid. Technology and global domination, 2010s. The 2010s bring technology and controversy. Video review systems are introduced because apparently humans can't see where balls land. The FIVB starts changing rules to make the game more TV-friendly. Shorter timeouts, faster substitutions, anything to keep people from changing the channel. Volleyball becomes the second most popular sport globally after soccer, which nobody saw coming. France emerges as a powerhouse with Irvin and Gapeth leading the charge. This dude is named after Magic Johnson, plays like him too, and makes $1.35 million a year while being an Adidas model, because why not? Speaking of Tokyo, 2021, the U.S. women finally win their first Olympic gold after decades of silver medals and heartbreak. Karch Kiraly is their coach because this man literally can't stop winning at volleyball. He's now won gold as a player and a coach, completing the volleyball triple crown and probably making every other volleyball person feel inadequate. But let's talk about modern volleyball because it's insane. Players are jumping 40 inches routinely. Serves are hitting 80 miles per hour, and rallies look like something out of the Matrix. The sport has become so athletic that players need ice baths, recovery sessions, and personal trainers just to survive a season. Gone are the days of beer and cigarettes being acceptable training methods. Beach volleyball has become its own universe. The AVP Tour in America, the FIVB World Tour globally, and prize pools hitting millions of dollars. Players are celebrities. especially in Brazil, where beach volleyball players are treated like rock stars, and honestly, they kind of are. Have you seen them play? The women's game has exploded too. The wage gap in volleyball is actually smaller than most sports, which is progress, I guess. Professional leagues in Italy, Turkey, Poland, Japan, and Brazil are paying massive salaries. The Turkish league throws money around like they struck oil, which they kind of did. And players hop between continents chasing contracts like mercenaries, but with better shorts. The future. And now in 2025, volleyball is everywhere, from the Olympics to your local beach, from professional leagues making millionaires to your nephew's middle school team that loses every game. The sport that started because old businessmen couldn't handle basketball is now played by 800 million people weekly, has professional leagues on every continent, and makes people very rich. But here's the crazy part. Volleyball keeps evolving. Rules keep changing to make it faster and more exciting, because all you need is a ball and a net. No expensive equipment, no massive fields, just pure athleticism and teamwork. The future of volleyball looks insane. Virtual reality training is already happening. Players are using AI to analyze opponents. And beach volleyball is pushing to become the cooler, younger sibling that everyone wants to hang out with. Professional volleyball is expanding with new leagues popping up everywhere. Conclusion: from William Morgan's weird basketball alternative to a global phenomenon that makes millionaires and Olympic champions, volleyball has had one hell of a journey. It survived 2 world wars, evolved from Mintonette to Olympic sport, and somehow made playing in sand look athletic and professional. And the best part? Volleyball is still growing, still evolving, and still making people dive face first into sand for money. What started as a gentle game for old businessmen is now one of the most athletic, explosive, and exciting sports on the planet. Who knows what volleyball will look like in another 100 years? So there you have it, the entire history of volleyball, from YMCA gym floors to Olympic gold, from $0 to millions, from Mintonette to the second most popular sport in the world. Not bad for a game invented because basketball was too hard. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go practice my spike. And by practice, I mean hit a ball into the net repeatedly while pretending I meant to do that. Volleyball, everybody.